I want to spend some time now talking about the concept of sensitivity labels in Microsoft Purview. So here we are on portal.microsoft.com. We're going to click the show ellipse symbol and we're going to click the compliance blade, which is going to bring us into Microsoft Purview. Okay, once we get into Microsoft Purview, there's two big things to think about here. First off is when it comes to sensitivity labels and all that, sensitivity labels will feed into classifications. So one thing of note is that your sensitive info types, these are all going to be all the types of things that sensitivity labels can locate in order to have something labeled as sensitive. Especially if you're going to do automated sensitive info types, or sensitive labels, I should say. So to do that, if I come down here to this area here called information protection, we're going to click on that. And then there we can click on labels. All right. And now I've created some other labels in the past, but I can click to create a label right here and I can give it a name. I'm just going to call it test label. It says, all right, that's going to be the name of it, and you can give it a display name of some sort, an even more friendly name if you want, or a longer name. I'm just going to label the same description to the users. I'm just going to say this is a test label. All right, and then you can also give some more information for admins. You can also set a color if you want, and then click next. From there, you can specify if this is going to just be on individual items, if it's going to be for groups and sites, if it's going to be on schematized data assets. So I'm just going to go with items. This will be individual items like Office files, Power BI, auto labeling, all that. Now groups and sites, this is a feature that may be grayed out when you first come in here, but you can click learn more about how to turn this feature on. Okay, so I'm just doing items here, and I'm going to click next. All right, and then it says, do you want to apply or remove an encryption that might have been placed on it? Okay, I'll say, or you want to do content marking. I'm just going to do content marking, but I could have it auto apply encryption if I want. I'm going to click next. So content marking, I'm going to say watermark that'll show up on the document would be test label, font size, color, if you want it to be diagonal or horizontal across the page. So if you had a document that had a certain sensitive piece of information in it, then at that point it would put the watermark on there. You can also have it put a header, you can put a footer. I'm just going to say watermark. Click next, and then you can also do auto labeling as well. If you have I have the Enterprise Mobility Plus Security subscription with E5, and so I can do this auto labeling if you want to have it auto label. Now, auto labeling, of course, is going to have it analyzing for a certain condition. So I'll say let's say the document contains, let's see, a piece of sensitive information. And the sensitive information, I'm just going to choose, let's do a United States physical address, driver's license number, or bank account number. So that'll be fine. Those three things. Any one of those three things are in this document, it would do that. You can have it. It uses an algorithm based on confidence level on how confident it is that it recognizes that. You can go low or high, and then based on if you go low or high, there could be more false positives or less false positives depending upon what you go with. But it also could miss stuff. If you go too high with it. Medium is the default. So then we'll click next. Some of these features are not turned on because you have to enable the groups and sites feature for this to show up. And then I would click next. And I didn't turn on the schematized data assets. I'm going to click next on that. I'm going to click to create the label, and the label can take up to 24 hours, especially on a new tenant, to take effect. So be advised that if you start trying to implement this, it doesn't necessarily get applied immediately. The next thing would be applying the label. Now, to apply the label, it gets published using what's called a label policy. And you can say, let's just go ahead and auto apply it. Let's publish the label now to specific users, or don't create the policy yet. So I'm going to say don't. And so the label will show up here, test label. But in order for it to actually be used, out there in our environment, you have to do one of two things. You can either go publish the label or you can go to label policies. They're both going to do the same thing. All right, so I'll go to label policy. I can say publish the label, choose the sensitive label I want to use. I would say test, add, and I would click next. And then here's where I can say, well, what users or groups do I want this to apply to? Do I want it to apply to specific users? Do I want it to apply to a certain group? Maybe this is just for the HR group. Okay, so I would click HR. If I had an HR group, if you don't have an HR group and you're doing this, you can always just create one. Now, from here it says configure settings for labels included in this policy. Users must provide a justification to remove the label if you want. That means that if the system says, hey, this has got sensitive information in it, if you want that label to be removed, a user would have to justify it. If you don't select that, users can't. Require users to apply label to their emails and documents. If you check this box, you're basically saying the users always have to apply labels, no matter what. I don't usually like to do that unless I have a label that's called unclassified or something like that. Require users to apply label to their Power BI. That's business intelligence content, which I'm not getting into right now. Provide users with link to a custom help page. This is if they don't understand how labels work. If they're labeling documents, you can provide some help on that. From there, you would click next. If you want to have a default label that applies to all the document, because remember, you can publish more than one label at a time. I'm only publishing one label at this point. And of course, I'm going to make it test label will be the default. But if you're publishing like 5 labels at one time, making them all available, then at that point, because imagine if you were applying 5 labels to the HR group. Maybe these are HR related labels. You could choose one to be the default, and then all the other ones would be available for the HR group. They could manually do it, or you could have it automatically do it based on what we set earlier. From there, I'm going to click next, and then it says, okay, you got for as far as labeling emails, because emails can be labeled as well. Do you want to do the same test label, or you want to choose a specific one, or do you want emails not to have a label? I'm going to choose none. Same for Power BI. Okay, and I want to give it a name. I'm going to call it test label policy. And then I'm going to click next, and then I'm going to click submit. Again, remember, here it is right here. This can take up to 24 hours before it shows up. So, if you're playing around with this for real and you want to see these labels in action, if you link a Windows machine to this and an Office 365 license is linked to it, these labels can be applied to that group, but keep in mind it can take 24 hours before you're going to see anything. Okay. All right. But hopefully that gives you now a good basic understanding of how this sensitivity labels are going to work in Microsoft Purview.